And we're live on YouTube. Hello, friends. I am excited to do office hours today. Unfortunately, I have a meeting that had to be scheduled at um, 10. And so right now it is 9:30. So we'll see if we can get through all of the questions that people have to ask in the next half hour. So yeah, it looks like we've actually already got James. What's up, James? You got a question?
Hey, yeah, nice to meet you, Ken. Really appreciate all your work. How are
Yeah,
you?
thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question around downshift actually.
Okay.
I posted it on the Discord the other day. Um,
Yeah, I saw that in the help channel, right?
yeah, yep, that's right. Um, Around like I've seen your example on Twitter around fetching async components with the downshift component,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm really having trouble co-opting that for the use combo box hook,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting strange rendering performance. So I've got this use case of trying to create an autocomplete combo box that's going to handle thousands of items. I'm avoiding virtualization by just wanting to show like the top, you know, 10, 20 results.
Mm.
Um, and I've attempted like implementing the filtering logic both on the client side and um, like on the server side via a get async items prop for my
Mm.
component. Um, the former case, I found really strange uh, behavior of like the input wouldn't be blocked, but it would slow down like the more I typed into it. But then curiously for the get async items version that is intended to like shift the filtering logic to like potentially server side, um, that one like very directly blocked the inputs. Um, it very directly blocked the inputs rendering. So
Mm-hmm.
in this example, if you just type the letter like A, it'll take a good second to like respond in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel for you?
Yeah, yeah. So I've got it up now, and I'll actually also grab a link to this and put it in the Discord so other folks can see
I
this
think I
post.
need to, because this is using Code Sandbox's like new environment, I think unless you're like signed in as a pro user, you need to be invited to this sandbox in order to fork and edit it.
Oh, that's okay. I don't think there we'll actually need changes for this. So sorry, it took me a while to figure out where that link was. Let me grab that and stick it in the Office Hours channel for folks. Um, so my guess is um, that it maybe has something to do with this start transition usage.
Mhm.
I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
But I think what that might be doing, man, it's been such a long time since I've had to do this use transition stuff. And back when I was doing it, it was still experimental. So
Yeah.
let me refresh myself on this really quick. So let's you mark a state update as a transition. Yeah, heck, what the heck is that supposed to mean? I can't remember. Lets you update the state without blocking the UI. So that seems to be what is happening is your UI is
Yeah.
getting blocked. I wonder,
Like
um,
the what I've been trying to understand about both use transition and the newer hook use deferred value is that they're two different sides of the same coin of pretty much like React native, like native to React implementations of typical debouncing and throttling methods that people employ for patterns like this. Um, and yeah, like set input value isn't marked as a transition, it's a prioritized update, and all of the um, all of the state updates that you mark as a transition are supposed to be getting deferred. They do say in some of the docs that you that like even code that you mark as a transition, like it's getting run, but it's not being like, I guess, like prioritized
Committed.
render cycle.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. The goal of the yeah, this is annoying. That I wish that I could make changes here. So the goal of the transition idea is related to concurrent features so that the UI doesn't get thrashing because JavaScript is super busy doing stuff. I don't yeah, like I'm guessing that you have tried taking out this start transition and this
Yeah,
hasn't
I
changed
mean,
anything.
we can do that right now. And then what I've also tried is like, well, there's a difference between whether I make this entire call inside the transition, or do I like start the transition inside my then. And the only thing that's part of that is the actual setting of the state. So if we do this and I'll refresh the browser on my end, it's still, I think it's not quite as bad, but it's still not ideal.
Yeah, this is garbage. Yeah, your code isn't garbage, but the experience
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. I hear you. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, this is very, very unexpected. So, and this only happened when you added the get async items
Yeah.
function.
I don't think it would be super hard um to add like the typical items pattern. Um of The other thing that sucks about this new Code Sandbox UI is that they don't let you use Vim easily. It's
Hmm.
like VS Code built in, so you kind of got to add like your VS Code plugins yourself and whatnot. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, dude, I did Vim for a while, for like 2 years, and I found that I was fighting against like everything all the time. And so I just
Mm.
there are things that I miss about Vim, but I don't miss that.
Mhm. Yeah, having to like bring Vim with you everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so let's see, and I'll just make items required, and in my app I'll pass items. So
Okay,
what
I'm while you're doing this, I
I'm
just have to say people talk about how great Code Sandbox is, and I was way into it. I like early on.
Mhm.
Um, in the last like 3 or 4 years, I have had nothing but problems with Code Sandbox. Like every single time things go wrong, even with
Mhm.
this new update, I'm trying to open a file and I'm getting this loading spinner. Like what? I'm just trying to open a stupid file.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just maybe it's something weird with my machine or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I so often have I almost never have a experience with Code Sandbox that actually works. And it's just really disappointing. I was like a paying subscriber. I was one of the first ones. I was like way into it.
Yeah. And I
It's
think like the mission of it is like really great. And I mean, I don't know, as far as like sandbox web-based uh environments, like I agree. Like I've really enjoyed it over the years, but it has seemed to like degraded. And this like cloud-based version of it is definitely not an improvement. They're selling it as one, and it's not there yet.
yeah,
If anything, it's like much less responsive, even if theoretically like you can do more with it.
yeah. I think I don't think we need to go too deep into like passing in the items. Obviously that I'm confident that should work, no problem.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the um the thrashing you're experiencing in the UI is like totally not normal, not expected at all.
Okay.
It is what would be interesting. I mean, if I could like just fork this thing, but whatever.
Do you
I
want
should
an
probably
invite
just
to it?
no, it's fine. I should probably just download it. But one thing that I would suggest is pull up the performance tab and
Mm-hmm.
record an interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then right here, like this is nonsense right there. You should not be seeing all that red. That's why we're getting the experience. So on this key press, it took 297 milliseconds. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we're running in dev mode, and so it is going to be worse.
Sure.
But you should definitely still be within like 50 milliseconds of even within dev mode. Like this is a lot. So we can dive into this and see what's going on. Most of it is this or yeah, like there's the big section that's this commit root stuff that is like completely out of your control. Um, Now actually I wonder how many cities oh, that's why.
Well, yeah, there's 8,000. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
should have checked that first.
There's 8,000. Now um, and like that's the use case that I'm like trying to get here, but
Yeah.
with like with get async items, it is only oh, actually no, let me change this. Slice 0, 20. This will probably um help somewhat. Oh, I guess does that just totally fix it?
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
There you go.
this is strange because I was
And you should be able to bring back the start transition. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I guess even concurrent mode wasn't able to avoid thrashing, though like I feel like it's supposed to, even
right.
with that situation. But I mean, at some point all that stuff's got to get rendered, maybe. Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know. But yeah, it looks like that has fixed it. So it's pretty dang fast now.
I'd like to double check on the code that I have in my actual work. Um, because I'm pretty sure I had the same like slicing where I'm only ever actually returning 20 elements
Hmm.
there as well, but I was seeing the same performance issues. But let me just double check that
Okay.
I didn't make that mistake there as well.
Well, why don't you look at that and I'll
Please.
get to the some other questions because I got 15 minutes left.
Totally. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we figured something out there. Hopefully that's the solution for you.
Yeah, I'm glad it was.
Okay, so Justy answering this now. Um, so storing currency and price. When I was at PayPal, we always stored things without the precision, and then we can add the precision later. So it's going to be in cents. That's how I do that. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so integrating instead they use integers cents, so it's converted to big int. Um, yeah, so like unless you think that you're gonna have things priced at like a ridiculous amount of money, then I would just have that stored as an integer. Um, Notice they use integers, so converted to big int. Yeah, I would just use like a non-big int, unless you're planning on storing prices that are like ridiculous. Another thing that you could do, um, if you really want to keep it as a big int, you could probably use what's it called? There is a tool or a library for serializing and deserializing stuff. And now I've Super JSON. You could look into Super JSON. There's also Killiman put together a Super JSON like thing. Super JSON. Yeah, his remix Super JSON, but he made another thing. Killiman serialize JSON thing. Oh, good. GitHub. Yeah, he made another thing. I wonder if we look at his profile, if it'll be listed on one of his things here. Yeah, type JSON, which he says is faster and smaller and all the good things. So you can take a look at that also. Hopefully that helps. If you really want to use Big Int, I believe, yeah, Big Int is supported there. Okay, great. I think, yeah, I answered this, I believe. So good. All right, Bjorn. I have a remix site with a large schedule with many bookings, so a lot of data to retrieve on initial load. In the sidebar, there's a menu with tabs that I would like to persist the selection of, so I put them in search params. Although I'm not sure whether this gives a reload, seems to be on the network tab, although scroll position of component is maintained, perhaps because not keyed. The menu transition is very sluggish. Yeah, so this is going to, changing the search params is going to reload all of the loaders on the page. And that is desired behavior because, at least as a default, because the loader can reference the search params and change its behavior, change what data it returns. So this is a good default. But I'm guessing that since you don't want that, that your loader that returns a lot of data doesn't care about the search params. So we'll talk about how to address that. Some options to improve this. I'm not sure what's the best approach. A cookie. Should I load the bookings client side with React Query or use streaming? So before I get to that actual suggested solution, I'll tell you that here, and actually I forgot to mention answering this now. The loading the bookings on the client side, definitely possible. But I wouldn't recommend it. I would instead recommend, like, if we keep things the way they are, I would use the defer API with instead of JSON for that loader, so that you can stream in those things that are really slow and show a loading state, which is the sort of thing that you'd get with React Query. Sort of. Yeah, there are nuances there. But yeah, you totally could use React Query if you wanted to. As far as the cookie is concerned, I'm guessing you mean instead of using search params, you use a cookie, even to store like the menu items or whatever. I mean, you could do that. That makes it impossible for people to link to the view that they're looking at, and that's a product decision. But I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah, streaming, that's what I was talking about with the defer thing. Or make it optimistically update the state of the menu, retrieve search param through set state. Yeah, so I actually do something sort of similar to this. What I on my blog, I wanted the search for blog posts to not involve a network request, because I've only got less than 200 of these. And so I can absolutely load the data for all 200 on this page and not have it be a problem, because it's literally just what you see here: the title, the date, the amount of time, the URL for the image, and the ID. Yeah, and that's it. So I load that for 200 items. That's not a lot of data. So I just load it all in, even though I don't display it all. And then I have like the ability to search. So there we've got all of my stuff about career stuff. And so what I wanted was just to make it so that this is really a really fast search experience without requiring network traffic, because I can just load all of this stuff at once. The problem is that I also wanted the query string to be updated as I'm typing. But I didn't want to revalidate everything on the page because like we've got our blog loader, but also the root loader that involves like the user profile and all of this stuff. And so I thought that would be unnecessary. So at the time, when I was building this, we didn't have the feature that we have now that I'm going to tell you about in a second. But what I did was I actually have a special way to update the search params that does not inform the router that those search params are updated. So this is what not to do. And this is why I always get nervous when people say that they're referencing my website as a way to build a Remix app, because I'm like, oh, I kind of built lots of that stuff before we had certain features in Remix. So be careful. Yeah, so I grabbed the search params from the router, but then I have a use effect. Oh yeah, update query string value without navigation. Yeah, I love those things. So yeah, that's in here. And you can look at that if you want to. Yeah, here's a big explanation why we're doing things this way. Ultimately, it's just calling replace state directly. So that will not trigger loaders. This is not a good thing because it effectively means that you can get out of sync with loaders that care about the search params and the search params themselves. So it's almost like saying use effect without listing all the dependencies. You can get out of sync. So the actual solution is a API that now exists called should revalidate. Yeah, sure, I guess default should revalidate. Huh, that's weird. Should revalidate. Yes, this entire page. So this is the solution that you want. I don't know why I'm on 1.6. Oh, I thought they released a 1.17. There we go. We'll just go give you the main. This is the actual solution is you add should revalidate to the routes that are heavy. And then in here, you specify the only things that should impact this loader's data. So you can think of this as listing a dependency array. So in like a use effect or a use memo. Actually, that's yeah, or it's more aptly compared to compared to a comparator for React.memo. So where is that? The custom rprops equal function is, they used to call this comparator, but I think that was probably too confusing. Yeah, so the idea is by default, we will just say if any of the props changed, then we will re-render the component. But if you give us this function, then we'll give you the previous props and the new props, and you can tell us if the props changed. So in the same way, should revalidate is like, by default, we will revalidate this on like actions and URL changes like navigations. But if you give us this function, then you tell us if you need to revalidate, and we'll tell you when we would. Yeah, so this runs on the client only, and it gives you all the information that you should know or that you should need to know whether or not this needs to be updated. So that's the solution. Good luck. Okay, I've got 3 minutes. James, are you still here? Did we, or Justin, sorry. Did we solve your problem?
Hey, Ken. I didn't look at the answer. But yeah, I was just kind of wondering, and sorry if you already talked about this, like just general, like how you like to store currency. I know you've worked at PayPal and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm building a e-commerce kind of thing where there's products, so I need to store money, and I quickly realized that it's kind of complicated and hard.
Yeah. Sorry, I've only got a couple minutes left, so I'll cut you off. If you could just watch the YouTube live stream and back it up, I answered.
Okay, you answered it. Sounds good.
Yeah. Sorry.
No
okay.
worries. Thanks, man.
Yeah, sure. I wish that I had more time. I feel bad.
No worries.
Cutting you off there. I'll just get to Amir and then I'll jump off. So I hope you're doing well. My question would be about higher order functions around Remix APIs. Yeah, so this is actually explicitly not allowed. And there's a document about this. Maybe one day it will be possible, but yeah, definitely not something that you can do due to module constraints. So no module side effects. These are not allowed. I can understand the motivation behind wanting to be able to do this. What ends up happening is this with validator code is going to end up in the client. That's the problem. And actually, even the entire action, I think, would probably end up in the client too. So yeah, can't do that. Sorry. Okay, that's it. Thanks everybody. I hope you all are doing awesome and have an awesome. Oh, sweet. James, before he left a chat in Zoom that it was the same mistake. So good. I'm glad we solved that problem. This is why windowing is important for lots of things. And if you don't want a window, then just slice the amount of stuff that you're adding. So good stuff. Thanks everybody for joining. Normally this is a full hour. Again, I'm sorry, Justin, for cutting you off. Hopefully I answered your question. And yeah, we'll see everybody next time. If you do have any other questions in the meantime, then check out the Call Kent podcast, where I will answer questions. I just answered question 150. I got to figure out how to do pagination on this page. I knew I would eventually get to this point because there's a lot of episodes now. Feel free to ask your question on here, and I will get to it as soon as I can.